Hey guys, it's Syama here, CEO of Scaling Retail. Thanks for tuning in to Instagram Live, where we are hosting our Retailing Weekly. We're going to be taking some questions today on what's going on in the market, what's happening with the industry. I have some really cool updates. Just in terms of what we're hearing. So many of you guys might have received notifications from your banks basically saying that a lot of the money and resources that were available the other week have actually been tapped out. Unfortunately, it seems like there are a lot of different companies out there that are not going to be able to access the small business recovery loans and the payment protection plan. And the reason why is because of the following. So number one, kind of when the banks initially, when the SBA was initially granted and awarded these funds, based on the timing of how these funds ended up getting allocated, a lot of businesses that were on the bigger side of the small companies were actually really fast to go and apply for these loans, meaning that they were the first in line. They had all their paperwork ready and they were essentially ready to get those resources faster than anyone else. A lot of small businesses, you guys out there who are smaller, who are needed some time, needed to circle up with your accountants, needed to be able to get access to what those resources you were going to need to even apply for it. That actually ended up being one of the biggest detriments. And because of that, because there wasn't a big enough push or fast enough, that's one of the main reasons why a lot of the small business loans were not given out to many of the small startup companies. Now, so what does that mean? Well, basically there is a new wave of funding that is about to be a new wave of funding. Sorry, guys, I'm playing with the Zoom. There's a new wave of funding that's about to be allocated for small businesses. So what does that mean? That means that if you guys already went ahead and applied for those loans, there might be additional opportunities to receive that funding. If you have yet to apply for those payment protection programs or the other care options from the SBA, there's still a good opportunity for you to be doing that as well. So don't get too frustrated. There's a lot that's still to be happening in the market. So where are we seeing the market heading, and kind of what are the key indicators right now? Well, obviously, as we start to see some more normalization in the market, people are starting to resume some purchasing habits at home. It's going to be a lot different. I'm sure you guys have been seeing it yourselves in your own personal life. Hey there, thanks for joining. But there is going to be, and there has been, kind of a slow shift. Hey there, Audrey. There has been kind of a slow shift right now as we look to kind of bring back to consumer spending. So that's actually been very interesting. Consumers have been shopping and they're now starting to focus some of their spending on skincare, on at-home products and things in order to make sure that their home and lifestyle is improving. So what does that look like? That looks like things like home decor. That looks like things like bedding. It looks like skincare and beauty. So we're starting to see other categories, shift in terms of purchasing. Obviously, guys, there are still over 20 million people who filed for unemployment. However, those checks are starting to go out. Hey there, thanks for joining. Those stimulus checks are starting to go out. And also the additional $600 a week on top of unemployment has actually left a lot of people who have been unemployed, some of them making more money in unemployment than they had before in their regular jobs. So we're starting to see things shift. Obviously this is not going to be a huge spike. Things aren't changing dramatically, but things are shifting and changing. And depending on where your business is and what products you're servicing, you may or may not be on the upside of that, right? So a good opportunity to take a step back and look at your business. Now, over the last week or so, a few weeks, but in the last week, I've had a few interesting phone calls with different brands out there. And what's been very exciting is to actually see a lot of business owners who are taking this opportunity to do strategy and planning. Just got off the phone call today with someone who was like, hey, I thought I had these needs to do X. And through our conversation, we realized that the needs were actually more foundational, more strategic. And what I would really urge many of you to ask yourselves is, do I need to be doing these external marketing activations, or is this the opportunity to really be looking at my brand and brand building and business building in a whole different light? And the opportunity to be strategic, I think, is something that on the day-to-day basis, a lot of small businesses don't give themselves the opportunity to do. right? But you guys have this kind of forced opportunity to take a step back and look at that. So I'm going to go over a few questions that you guys have submitted. If you're not already on our newsletter, then I suggest you get your butt over there so you can submit questions as well. But let me go through a few of these. And again, guys, if you have any questions about how you should be spending your time, any business strategy questions, this is a good time to mention them. Happy to share some insight. All right, let's go through this. So the first question is, I'm making jewelry and I'm working on finishing a new spring-summer collection. Is it bad timing to send buyers wholesale information before things really turn back to normal? So this is a really interesting question, guys. And so when we're thinking about the opportunities for communication with wholesale vendors, you need to ask yourself, where is the state of the business that my wholesale vendor is in? Meaning, are they actually in a position where they're looking at the buying cycles for Q4? Are they planning for holiday sales right now? How badly was this business really hit during this last month? And traditionally, the buying cycles you would start to see in the months of June and July, a lot of the big orders being placed for those October and November deliveries. Which means that in the next coming months, if you don't have an assortment or you don't have an idea of what you want to put out for holiday, this could be a great opportunity for you to be thinking about what those holiday product assortments are going to look like. So what I would say is don't just reach out now about wholesale orders. Obviously, retail in general is taking a huge hit. No one is actually looking for products unless you guys are selling like a mask or something that's going to be a bit more timely. Maybe if it's a home product, maybe it's something for skincare, personal use, those kinds of products I think are the most important. But if you're not doing that, right, then I would say lay off on following up on wholesale. This isn't the time to start to do a massive pitch or even to reach out to companies that are struggling. Take your time and actually take a step back and say, assuming that things get back to normal by the summer, right, which we're still looking at, which means as of now, even though companies like Facebook have canceled all of their events for the rest of the year, we're hearing things, bigger companies are kind of planning on a very they're planning very conservatively, I think is the best word, in terms of how things are going to rebound. There are a number of different platforms out there right now that are preparing themselves for, digital wholesale marketplaces and digital showrooms. And with the expectation that we're going to see fall, winter kind of pick up, I would say this would be an excellent time to find out what kinds of digital platforms you might be able to get your business on. Okay, so, that's kind of the answer to the first question. Second question here is, I've been wanting to build a luxury website for quite some time and was wondering if I have any info in the process from idea to finish. I think we have a really great video on YouTube about building a luxury brand, and I highly suggest that you guys take a look at that video. I think the biggest thing that most people kind of fail to recognize within the luxury market space is you can't fake luxury, right? It's like you got to put the money into the photography. You've got to make sure that your copy looks good. You have to make sure that your website looks good, which means that chances are, guys, you're not going on Upwork and hiring someone to do your website for $500, right? You're looking to invest resources in order to build a high-touch, consumer-friendly luxury product. Consumers know if you're putting your money where your mouth is. They know and can see and feel if you understand what they're looking for on a UI UX, and then also in terms of branding and images. So, the important thing to realize is if you want to be a luxury brand, it really doesn't end at just building a luxury product. I've had clients in the past who've come to us who've spent so much money on product design and development to only find out that they had spent all of their money on product design and development. They were stuck with a beautiful finished product, placed units, had everything in stock, and didn't have any money to be able to market and sell it. So guys, product is really going to be just half of the journey. The other half of the journey is getting that product out to market. So that means developing the right website, developing the right photography, and doing so consistently. And this is another big mistake I see. It's not like you launch the brand and then all of a sudden you're done, right? There are operating costs. So when we're talking about what those business costs look like. There's the sprint to get you to launch, and then there's going to be the continuation of that business. And without kind of understanding how you want to operate that, you're not going to end up with the right kind of budget to match back to the product. Okay, so for a garment, specifically a blouse in the 280 to 330 range, which market is that? So that's kind of advanced contemporary. So what's important to realize is there's actually a really interesting market here called the advanced contemporary market, right? So you have your kind of aspirational, kind of entry-level brands, you've got your contemporary brands, you have your advanced contemporary brands, and then after advanced contemporary, you have your luxury brands. Hey there. You have your luxury brands. So the way I would think about it is, in the luxury market, you're looking at, let's say buying a dress for over $2,000. In advanced contemporary, you're probably maxing out or looking at dresses around, $1,000, $1,500, right? Contemporary dresses usually come in anywhere between, $400 to $800. And then you're looking at kind of the, I know. And then you're kind of looking at the, it's so funny, Glenda, the concept of bridge. I feel like we're talking like, old school from my Macy's days, right? When we would use the word bridge. Gosh, I mean, it's such a funny, I feel like there are some terms that really date us, that make us, that really show people how long we've been in the industry for. But there are different ranges, right? And so when you're looking at price points and you're looking at where your brand fits, the best way to know kind of where your brand is to look at other brands and to kind of think about yourself in terms of your competitive matrices, right? That's the word I was looking for. Okay, so to kind of finish this question on the luxury website thing, it's not going to be cheap, so don't plan on getting away with this for nothing. It's going to cost you some resources. Plan it far enough in advance and make sure that you have the money to market it. So here's the other big pitfall, right? It's not just build a great product, build a great website, but you also have to do the marketing around it. You have to do things in order to get people to see your great website and in order to purchase that great product. So the work doesn't end at the website. So end to end, guys, make sure you have, no matter what business you're building, enough resources to build, run, market, and then kind of repeat the cycle cyclically, depending on how often your merchandising drops are, right? That's kind of my big question, my big answer there. I'm going to answer another question that we have from our newsletter, and then I'm going to head back to some of these questions you guys are trickling in. How to connect with my ideal customer. I haven't launched yet. I do have a general idea of who this customer is, but I'm in the process of refining. So far, I haven't been able to get any significant traction via Instagram or my blog. So this is interesting. We're in an interesting time right now. It used to be if someone would say, well, who's my customer? How do I figure that out? I would say, oh gosh, guys, it really is raining. I think this tornado might be happening. So it used to be, I tell people, well, go put your product in front of people, right? And start to get an idea of who is actually attracted to the brand. Are they purchasing? What's the feedback? There's nothing more valuable than having customers and having people touch and feel your product and get to engage with it. And you can certainly do that also over, focus groups, right? But again, a lot of these kind of force you to speak to the customer, get the product or the brand in front of the customer. You can also do kind of, questions and get on the phone with potential people in your target market to better understand them, right? So that means going to a platform and paying to do these kind of one-on-one phone calls with potential ideal customers. But challenging to do in a time like today, unless you're kind of opting for this digital route of these conversations, to really be able to get your product in front of them. Now, that's kind of identifying the market, right? When you're talking about connecting with the customer, this time right now, when you are in this quarantine, when everyone right now is scrambling for a digital platform, this is not the time, right, to say, hey, I'm going to let me scramble to get on 30 platforms to try to reach everybody. I feel like I say this over and over again. This is the time to double down on one or two spaces and really engage on those platforms and be a voice and be heard and be consistent. This is the time to build collaborations and relationships and connections. And so when you're talking about struggling to get in front of your customers, my question is, are you struggling to just get content in front of them? Are you going into these Facebook groups and these Slack channels and connecting and being authentic, or are you being salesy? Are you trying to get someone to see that you're putting something on sale? So think about not just the platform that you're choosing to connect on, but the content and the communication strategy by which you're doing so. Okay. Oh yeah, a few more minutes, guys. I'm going to go through some of these questions. How often should a small business or brand do giveaways, especially in times like this? If you can do a giveaway, especially if your brand is really geared towards that customer who's trying to recreate an at-home experience that is going to give them some peace and serenity. If your brand is able to do that, then I actually think this is an amazing opportunity for you to do a giveaway and help to add value to your customers' lives. I think that's very important. So if you can do a giveaway and if the product makes sense to the times, then please do. I think that would do really well in terms of getting you new social media followers, building brand partnerships, etc. So the notion of doing giveaways, I think, is great, but it has to be the right product. I just don't know if doing a brand giveaway right now on travel luggage would really make a lot of sense, right? So make sure that there's a right kind of product market activation that's appropriate with the times right now. The next question I have here is, any good ideas on how to create a solid pre-launch market plan for advanced contemporary? I realize it's a broad question. It is a broad question. So when you're thinking about, pre-market launch, we're in a very unusual time. So I would actually probably urge you to, think about this as two-pronged. One is, what's the digital strategy? Second is, what's going to be the in real life and in-person strategy when the markets start to clear up and people can go outside. I have a feeling, even though the way we look at our lives on a day-to-day basis is certainly going to shift, I do believe that there is a upside here on people wanting to go out and wanting to connect. So when you're thinking about what a pre-launch market plan or marketing plan looks like, I would say start with your finances and work backwards. So how much money do I want to spend? What percentage of my budget am I going to spend on marketing? And then once you identify how much you want to spend on marketing, you can then work backwards and say, well, how do I best allocate those resources in a way that is the most productive? So it's not about, again, putting money everywhere, right? It's about being very deliberate about the areas of business that you want to allocate resources on, and then testing and iterating. But you want to focus, right? So if you're like, oh, I got $50,000 to go on marketing, great. I'm still not going to tell you to spend it all on everything, right? You have $150,000. I'm not going to say spend on everything. I'm going to say, okay, what's going to get us the biggest reach? What's going to make the biggest impact for the launch of this business? So work backwards from your budget and then ask yourself, where does my customer, where are they, right? What's going to be the most meaningful touch points for my customer? And then start to assign your budgets to that. And then from there, you're kind of working out a marketing plan, right? But in the right way, not like, oh, I need to be in all these places and then I need to throw all this money at it. You have to reverse engineer it based on what you can actually do, right? It makes it a lot more meaningful. All right, guys, I think those are all of the questions that you guys gave me. So thank you so much for joining. Guys, we are going to be doing these live one-on-one consulting sessions. And so what we thought would be super cool is if we're actually able to get a brand once a week who wants to hop on a video chat with me. We'll do it on Instagram Live. We'll workshop your business together. I realize that sometimes it's hard to kind of type a question in, or maybe you have a 2 or 3 pronged question, and maybe you want to get a little bit deeper. I think this could be an amazing learning opportunity for a lot of your peers in the space. So if any of you guys are interested in doing a live one-on-one session, let me know. Please send us an email at hello@scaling scalingretail.com. I'd love to be able to spend a little bit more time with your business and ultimately provide a service for others who are also seeking to understand and learn and grow. In the meanwhile, please be safe. Please continue to apply for those loans. I'm confident they will push through. Look for opportunities and ways to pivot your brand, your marketing and communication strategy in the most relevant cultural way. And don't panic. This is an amazing opportunity and time for you to be strategizing your business. So make sure you take the time to do that. All right, guys, that's all from me at Scaling Retail. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.